I don't know about you, but when I was asked to present a series about the paranormal, I have to admit I was somewhat intrigued. Ghosts, spooks, poltergeists, things that go bump in the night have never normally fascinated me. You could probably call me a bit of a skeptic. So in this series, I wanted to make sure things were done properly, scientifically if you like. With an experienced team of technical experts, we're going to investigate some of the most interesting locations in the southwest. I'm Tony Smith. Join me as we go in search of things that go bump in the night. Still need a snappy title, of course.
Have the bowsman grab your nets and put to sea. Keep an eye upon the hewer and the haze. Bowsman guide your crew, steer your oars and straight and true. Keep us safe and all.
The southwest is awash with myths, fables and stories, born from centuries of storytelling and passed down in communities through generations of local families. However, one activity that we know actually took place and is now remembered fondly as part of the heritage of this South Cornish coastline was smuggling.
Row, boys, row, row against the tide, boys, hear the hewer cry, boys, row.
Imagine, it's the late 18th century, it's pitch black and there's no one else around for miles. Perfect to bring those boats ashore full of illegal contraband. This is Talland Bay, west of Looe, and it's really no surprise that remote locations like this were used to bring that contraband ashore. But the smugglers would have had difficulty bringing their legal cargo of brandy, rum or gin kegs inland once on the beach. They were often taken along known paths to their secret hiding places, such as Bridles Lane into Polperro. The barrels would be placed on carts and covered in seaweed, disguising them under the pretence of manure for farmers' fields.
And then our daily toil will be to press them for the oil, to see us through
The bay has long been the source of ghost stories and evil spirits. One such story relates to the Reverend Richard Doidge, vicar of Talland during the early 18th century. Some accounts describe, and I quote, how he would often be seen in the churchyard at the dead of night, to the terror of passers-by, driving about the evil spirits in all sorts of shapes, flying and running before him. The likelihood was that these shapes were local smugglers engaged in their nocturnal activities. So was Parson Doidge actually involved in this skullduggery? Who can say? Polperro, just around the corner, was the destination for the majority of stolen contraband brought ashore here. It's a village steeped in smuggling heritage and paranormal folklore. I think the perfect destination for our investigation.
They can search the whole world over pole to pole. May they all repent and extend their term of Lent, for there's nothing quite like pilchard for the saving of the soul.
Polperro is now a largely unsport fishing village on the southeast coast of Cornwall, with picturesque cottages clinging to steep hillsides overlooking the harbour. From the air you can understand why it's become a popular summer hotspot for tourists. But 300 years ago it was a mecca for smugglers. Here I am on the beach on the outside of Polperro's harbour wall. The smugglers were said to have brought their contraband ashore onto this beach and then up into this cave. So why this cave? Well, apparently there is a tunnel at the end that the smugglers used to take the contraband from the beach up through the cliffs to their cottages above. And one of those cottages belonged to smuggler Willie Wilcox. Willie's story is just one small part of the smuggling folklore of the village. So to get a wider understanding of his past, I'm going to meet Jeremy Rowett-Johns, author of many books on Polperro, including its smuggling history. Why Polperro?
Because I discovered about 30 years ago that my family came from here, and not only that, but most of my ancestors are buried around here. Something I was unaware of beforehand, and in so doing, I've came across this extraordinary history that Polperro's got.
You mentioned the history of Polperro. I mean, how old is this harbour town?
Well, it probably goes back into medieval times, but what what I do know is that about 300 years ago, there was a valuable East India ship wrecked just outside the harbour here. It had a cargo of diamonds and indigo.
Right.
And despite the best efforts of her owners, the diamonds were never recovered. The sea turned blue as a result of the indigo, and it was probably the first time that the town of Polperro, or the little village of Polperro, came to the notice of the Admiralty. But it certainly wasn't the last time.
So around about that time, what was the main industry for Polperro?
Well, it was probably fishing, to be fair, because the whole economy here relied on shoals, huge shoals of sardines, or pilchards, I should say,
Right.
pilchards, coming up the channel.
Yeah.
But if the pilchards didn't arrive, the local inhabitants here faced starvation through the winter.
Right.
And so they had recourse to one other activity, which was to go across to Guernsey and buy some merchandise there, duty free, and bring it back over here illicitly and sell it on.
So do you
That's
have
known
any
as
idea?
smuggling, incidentally.
Right. So do you have any idea of when that roughly was?
Well, it probably started way back in the 17th century, maybe even earlier. Who knows? But it was certainly pretty actively carried on in the 18th century, and then have reached a sort of peak towards the end of the 18th century as a result of the arrival of one man.
And who was that?
Zephaniah Job,
Right.
a wonderful biblically
Yes.
named man who arrived here as a young man. He was a fugitive from St. Agnes, and he'd been forced to flee there for whatever reason, we're not sure. But he came here, but he was educated. He'd been educated to be a mine captain. And unlike everybody else here in Polperro at the time, he could read and write. And so he set himself up as a schoolmaster, teaching the sons of the local fishermen. And he very soon discovered that what the fathers of these boys really wanted them to learn was about quantities of rum and gin and tobacco, all commodities that were being smuggled in from Guernsey.
Right.
And eventually he became the sort of correspondent and agent and collector of the money for the smugglers, and did all the, effectively he became, as he was known, the smuggler's banker of Polperro.
What was his illegal contraband worth?
Well, in large quantities, it was worth thousands of pounds. And because of Zephaniah Job's sort of entrepreneurial input into this, he made smuggling work here far more effectively than almost anywhere else around the south coast of Britain. Smuggling went on, as we all know, all around Cornwall, but I don't believe that that there was anywhere where it was as well organised and as lucrative as it was here in Polperro. Most of the cottages around the harbour here were inhabited by the fishermen, the local fishermen. Fishing was the principal form of activity. There were others who were farming, or else people who were supplying the fishermen.
Yeah.
Of the other properties, Cooch's house,
Yes.
which is still almost exactly as it was when Jonathan Cooch, the famous Polperro doctor, surgeon and naturalist, lived there.
So he lived at Cooch's house, but was he connected to the smuggling?
Well, only in as much as he married incidentally, he married 3 times and fathered 11 children.
Oh, busy chap.
So he was a busy man. But his second wife was Jane Quiller,
Right.
who was the daughter of an infamous smuggler, or a very famous smuggler, John Quiller. John Quiller had 3 sons, and both he and his sons all drowned at sea,
Right.
sadly. But they were buccaneering folk who
Right.
were involved not only in smuggling, but another very lucrative activity was privateering from here during the French wars.
Right. Right. So what was the connection in the French wars? You mentioned this privateering. What exactly was going on?
Well, when we were at war with France during the 1700s 1700s, the late 1700s, and there were 2 or 3 wars, weren't they, on
Yeah.
and off. It was possible for boat owners to apply to the Admiralty for a license to go and attack French ships. I mean, Nelson disapproved of this and described it as legalized piracy, but actually it was quite legal, providing you had the bit of paper, a letter of marque it was called, and you had that bit of paper, you could go and capture French vessels. And several Polperro boats, all financed by local people, because they would form syndicates, put to sea with these heavily armed ships and captured a lot of very, very valuable French and Spanish prizes and brought them back here.
Right, so some of the prizes from these French and Spanish ships, was that another lucrative source of,
Well, yes.
I guess, legal contraband?
Yeah. And some of the families, well, absolutely legal, yes. And some of the families here amassed enormous wealth.
Right.
And I mean, there was one Spanish ship, the La Tortola it was called, which, when they captured it, had the cargo of coinage on it coming back from South America was worth £8,000 in old money. You would probably add another 4 or 5 noughts to that now by present value. So you're talking about serious money.
Yeah, sure. Now, the Three Pilchers is one of the oldest pubs in Polperro,
It
if
is,
not
yes,
the oldest.
yes.
So how does that fit in with the smuggling stories?
Well, one of the landlords of the Three Pilchers was a man called Charles Jolliffe.
Right.
And it was often said that when you saw Charlie Jolliffe saddling his horse at midnight, you knew he was up to some nefarious business to do with the smuggling trade, and almost certainly he was supplied by the smugglers.
We know a lot of illegal contraband was coming into the village by various routes. How did the customs or police of their day actually stop this?
Well, Gabriel Bray, the commander of the revenue vessel the Hind, that was stationed off the coast here, led several raids on Polperro. He even tried approaching it by a sort of pincer movement by sea and by land, but every time he was thwarted because advance word of their arrival would reach here, and the smugglers, were waiting and ready.
Do you think, in our investigations coming up this evening, do you think we'll find any paranormal activity?
Well, I wouldn't be at all surprised. You'll find plenty of people who will tell you about paranormal activity, I'm sure, because I'm hearing about it all the time. But what I've found over the years is actually that the facts, the real truth, is often stranger than a lot of the fiction that's sort of grown up. There's a wonderful oral history down here, isn't there?
Yeah, there is fantastic history.
And because of that, it's sort of passed down by word.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much. Based on my conversation with Jeremy, I think I've now got a really good understanding of the key locations where our team should look. First of all, I think we need to investigate the beach and the cave where they brought much of the contraband ashore. Now, it is said that the spirit of the drowned smuggler Willie Wilcox haunts this cave, so it's going to make it an interesting investigation. People are said to have not only seen the image of Willie on many occasions, but have captured his image as well. I'm not sure we'll see the landlord's grey mare outside, but just around the corner is the drinking establishment that must have been at the centre of smuggling activities. I think we need to investigate the Three Pilchers, the oldest pub in Polperro. Apparently this was a busy meeting place for the smugglers and connected via a tunnel to Willie Wilcox's cottage. And on the opposite side of the harbour, facing the Three Pilchers, is the path linking Talon Bay to the village. Looking out, you get a real understanding of the harbour's geographical location, perfectly hidden for smuggling operations. At the bottom of the path is the house on the props. Cruciana Northcott lived in the house and actively warned smugglers of the approach of the preventative men by leaving a doll dressed as an Englishman in a shop window as a warning. Apparently, she is the resident spirit and can be seen rocking in her chair looking out to sea waiting for the return of a long-lost husband. The building's supporting beams and masts came from the SS Mavering, circa 1700. Unsurprisingly, the cottage boasted a secret staircase leading down to the harbour for, shall we say, easy access. Hopefully the team will be able to sense Krishana Northcott looking out of that top window. So this is Cooch's house, and this could be really interesting. This cottage did belong to the Quiller family, notorious for smuggling. So who knows what we could find out here. I'm meeting current owner Anne Gill. So Anne, tell me a bit more about who owned this house.
The Quillers, and they were a really rich family. They had 3 boats, and nowadays the boats probably shared between 4 or 5 different sailors, but they were notorious for smuggling.
You know, how involved were they?
Oh, very. I mean, same as I say, they had 3 ships, which was really quite unusual, but they used to get all the nice contraband of any ships that went down, and they'd be coming up the stream because there's no lights.
Right.
So it's pitch black.
We've got the stream just outside this window here, and they used to bring that up the stream.
Yes, they'd come when it was dark, so nobody could see them.
Yeah.
And there used to be a trap door by the window, and they'd come and push lots of things up through the floorboards. And then these 2 cupboards, I've got false floors in, which go up to my bedroom. So they could hide everything. So by the time then people were aware that the ships had gone down and they were looking for things, everything was tucked away in the houses. So they'd be very much, we know nothing about it.
Tell me the interesting story about the key that is still here in this house to this day.
Yeah, I can show you that. It's on the beam next door, and it belonged to, I think it was the middle son's chest. And they were saying if they didn't ever come home, you shouldn't mess with the keys. Well, this one was taken down. And the family had an awful lot of unfortunate luck. And when we were told the story, when we first bought the house, which was 26 years ago, and we were told about this key, and my husband always used to tease me like, I'm going to take that key down. I was like, no. So I used to wax this beam. We always used to go always round the key because I was really afraid, and I do believe in things like that.
Yeah. So what was the key to?
It's the chest where they had all their most treasured possessions. It's a very big chest, and it's still hanging on the beam.
Right.
But him and the chest never was recovered.
Never was recovered, and I wonder what could have been in that chest in Smugglers.
Would have been nice to know.
We know that John Quiller married local girl Jane Libby, where their 3 sons, Richard, William and John, helped their father's smuggling and privateering activities from the house. As Anne explained, it's said that Richard would hang the key of his quadrant on the beam before putting to sea with a stern warning that no one was to touch it until he returned. After his death in 1796, the tragic key, as it became known, has remained in place where he left it in deference to his wishes.
I know there's 2 nice ghosts.
Tell me about them.
One's a little lady who's very, very sweet, and she feels very caring and nurturing. I mean, the house does feel like it's a pair of hands that hold you. Yes. So I think she was a really sweet lady, and it's really funny because apparently she used to have a rocking chair in the corner where I've got one now, and I knit and crochet. I crochet all the blankets for all the babies, and I often feel sometimes that she's just giving me a little hug.
Right.
But always about 5, 5:30, that little step there creaks, and the radiator makes a noise, and it only happens when somebody stands on it. So it's as if she's been out and just comes in about 5:30. But there's also a naughty little man, I think he might be Lord Nettlingham, who, this house was a museum, I don't know what year it was.
Right.
And he used to tell all sorts of stories and things, but he fathered lots of children, and I've had people come to stay, and he likes to move and hide their underwear.
It'll be really interesting to see what our team find out, won't it?
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it, really.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome.
Finally, I think we need to bring the team here. This is the Crumplehorn Inn, and the man Jeremy described as the smuggler's banker, Zephaniah Job, worked here well away from the harbour and its nefarious activities. I'm meeting Janine Overton, who's lived in the village her whole life and is well versed in its history and folklore. Tell me more about Zephaniah Job.
He came to Polperro from St Agnes. He had previous training as a mine captain, so he was very good with his facts and his figures. So he came to Polperro, he got lodgings, he became a tutor. He then started doing accounts for people, and he became, in time, the smuggler's banker.
What you're telling me is that he was instrumental to holding the whole operation together. Is that right?
Absolutely. He used to enable the fishermen to buy their own properties because previously they were living hand to mouth. So he would enable them to have a mortgage and pay that off because they were mostly illiterate as well.
A large bonfire destroyed all Job's incriminating evidence in document form after he died in 1822. Fortunately for us today, one crate of his records was saved from the flames and found in the Crumplehorn's attic 100 years later. This ratified a lot of the details we have of Polperro's smuggling history. Whereabouts would he have actually done his bookkeeping? Do you know?
Here in the Crumplehorn, this
Yeah.
was his counting house.
Do you think he would have been sat here, or any ideas?
Yes. Yeah, he would have been, this would have been the main room for this house. And he would have been doing his work here.
And as the smuggling industry started to slow down, what happened to him after that?
Well, he was also into privateering as well. And he co-owned a couple of the boats in the village and gained a lot of money through that. He also became steward of Trelawney Manor. He also owned Rayfall Manor, and he became steward of the Rector of Lansalis as well. So that's a lot of property around the area that he was in control of.
It's proven by these remarkable records found at the Crumplehorn that the whole of Polperro prospered greatly because of Zephaniah Job's diligence and banking skills. As banker for most of the infamous companies of Polperro and agent for the merchants of Guernsey, it seems incredible at a time of great success in smuggling and privateering that he was able to maintain his professional distance. So what signs of any paranormal activity have you seen or witnessed here?
Quite a few. You get the feeling you're being watched. But there's also the smell of pipe smoke.
And whereabouts do you sense that smell?
A couple of places. There's behind me in the corner, and that's the most popular place. There's also a little spot around the corner that occasionally does smell that.
So who do you think could be smoking that pipe?
Who knows? I don't know what time period he'll be from because this is a very old building. We believe he's called Arthur. I think I've seen somebody walk along the top here. I think I've seen somebody stand by the fireplace.
Yeah.
And I've got the feeling I've been watched.
Wow. Well, it'll be really interesting to see what the team find in their investigations. So thank you ever so much, Jenny. Thank you. And now off to meet Byron Jackson, SW1TV's paranormal investigation leader, about the plans for the coming evening. Hi Byron, well I think we found some fantastic locations to investigate tonight with the team. What I'm really interested about is who's in the team and what skill set do we have to...
Well, as usual, we've got quite a hefty team because there are several locations tonight.
Yes.
But we thought, in addition to the mediums and sensitives that we normally have, we've also got psychic artists. I guess you've used them before?
No, we haven't. That sounds brand new.
Okay, so basically a person who's able to communicate with spirit and actually draw things that they see. Now, this is on the back of some of the stories from the Crumplehorn, where a guy's been seen before and the lady there has drawn before. So we're going to match those drawings up and hopefully come up with some matching imagery.
I also understand that we're going to be trying out some new experiments tonight.
That's right, something called the Gansfield experiment, which is a little bit weird. We were going to put you in it first of all, Tony, but we thought you probably wouldn't want to do it. But essentially, you'll be the person is deprived of all senses, so sight, hearing, and everything else is gone. Basically, they'll be played back white noise in their ears, and then the visuals actually is a red light that's actually shone into their eyes, so they can't really do very much. Now, apparently, by doing all these things together, actually helps spirit to communicate with them, and they get some weird experiences. So we're hoping that that's going to work. We've also got the firmer paper. Remember, we've used it before. and we're actually going to use that again tonight. Hopefully that will come into its own, and the Ovilus, which we've used before. You enjoyed that, we pulled it out again, so tonight you're going to be using that too. Particularly in the cave, I believe, it's probably a good idea to use it.
Well, that sounds like we've got a great team with some great experiments to try out, so let's get to it.
Absolutely.
Here we are at the cave with Abby and her team. They know nothing of the legend of Willie Wilcox, so let's see what they come up with. Hi guys.
Evening.
What experiment are we going to start with, Ben?
I think we're going to try a little bit of dowsing in this cave. We're going to both use the pendulum and the dowsing rods. We've got some EMF on the go. We've done an EMF sweep of the cave. There should be no EMF in here. And also we have the Ovilus.
Right.
And we've also got a digital voice recorder as well, just in case we capture any electronic voice phenomenon.
So, for those who've never seen one before, an Ovilus is a device made by a chap called Bill Chappell, who runs a company called Digital Dowsing, and he's been making paranormal investigation equipment for many, many years. And I use the word investigation very, very loosely there because the caveat is for entertainment purposes, a bit like any of these sort of things, you know. I guess because they don't want to freak people out. So the Ovilus basically converts environmental readings into words. It has a bank of words in a database, and using the data it transponds into a number which then transfers into a word, hopefully giving you some context to the environment you're in.
So we've got two methods of dowsing today. I'm going to be using the classic L rods, and Kelly is going to be using the crystal, and we're going to see if we can try and get the same answers between the both of us, to see if we can try and get it to correlate.
Over to you two then.
Can you show us where you are in here, please? Are you in the back of the cave? Are you in the back of the cave?
Yeah.
Yes.
2 yeses to being in the back of the cave. Okay.
Are you connected to smuggling? Are you a smuggler?
No.
Yes. I think we've got two separate.
Okay.
Now you think that you may have two different spirits that you're talking to. Where do you go now with the investigation?
It's quite difficult because you've got to try and filter out which one you're talking to now.
Okay.
And obviously you have to tell one to take a back seat or to just leave the environment itself. And it's not an easy thing to do, unfortunately, because they may both want to speak to you.
Can I ask if you can try and speak a little bit more to the smuggler?
Yeah, we can try that.
possible?
Yeah,
Try
we'll give it a go.
that.
Okay. So,
I'll direct my energy over.
okay, to the smuggler. Did you enjoy smuggling? Yes.
We have a yes.
Yes.
2 yeses.
Were you trapped in here as a result of your smuggling?
Yes.
Were you smuggling alcohol?
A little bit reluctant to answer that.
Can you ask the name if they are called Willie Wilcox?
Willie Wilcox. Willie Wilcox, is that you?
Yes.
We have a yes this side. What about
Nothing on my side.
nothing on that side?
Did you go to the back of the caves? Did you go to the back of the caves to escape the water? Yes.
Okay.
So this is why we're picking up that energy back there.
So with that little bit of knowledge of the folklore that you didn't know when we first came in
No.
here, where would you like to take the investigation now?
Well, if we are picking up an energy towards the back of the cave, maybe try the laser pen down there and maybe call out to see if we can actually get any activity going that way.
Right, we're going to leave it to you then
Yeah.
to take the investigation where you want to take it.
And have we got anything come up on the Ovilus, Graham?
Farmers is an interesting one, quite strong as well. It's not one I tend to see very often on there.
A little bit of a fact for you here. The word farmers just came up on the Ovilus.
Very strong bar at that.
Okay. You might not be aware, but you are now, that when they brought the illegal contraband ashore into caves such as this, to then transport that out of the village, they would hide it on farmers' carts covered in manure to be able to then sell it on to their other customers.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That's actually quite a relevant thing that's come up
Yeah.
then.
I mean, it's unusual for an Ovilus to come up with the word farmers, to be honest.
It's a new one, yeah.
I think the team are definitely onto something in the cave. Abby's dowsing seems to have picked up on a specific spirit presence. But is it really Willie Wilcox? So could this really be a picture of Willie after all? Remember, the team knew nothing at all about the cave's history.
Now you've made yourself known to us, we'd like to ask you a few more questions, if that's okay.
Hesitant, yes.
Don't worry, we mean you no harm.
We will not tell the customs men.
No. So, you smuggled rum, alcohol, is that correct?
Yes. Was this the only way for you to make extra funds for the village, for the people here? Yes.
So did you actually drown in this cave, Willie?
That's a stronger, yes. Did you use manure to hide the contraband? Yes. Did a cache ever get raided by the soldiers or customs men? Yes.
Can you ask Willie if he used tunnels to smuggle his contraband?
Willie, did you use tunnels to smuggle your goods?
We promise we won't say anything to anyone.
Did you move the goods around after dark?
Yes. Did you use tunnels to hide your caches? Yes.
Can you ask him if he lived above this cave?
Did you live above here? Was your house here?
Yes.
Okay.
Could you point to the direction of where this cave enters your house? So we're going back there.
Okay.
Willie, can we ask the question, what century did you die? Could you cross the rods when we get to the right century, please? You want to count down?
Yeah. Was it the 1900s? The 1800s?
Keep going.
1700s?
1700s.
Away from the dowsing rods, Abby, can you sense Willie's presence here?
I felt a presence at the back of the cave, didn't I? When we came in, I was drawn, and I felt like, as I said, water rushing in and a head being smashed against a rock. So, yeah.
If Willie did pass away in this cave, it's most likely to have been through drowning. Perhaps he did bang his head in here after all. In the dead of night, it must have been nearly pitch black when the tide came in. We couldn't discover a direct link from the cave's tunnel to Willie's cottage above. Perhaps that's the mythical part of this story. Evidence would suggest they probably used the steps outside carved into the cliff face. We're now at Cooch's house. The team have only been briefed by Byron as to the investigation experiments and know nothing about the house or its history. Sensitives Abby and Sally Ann have already picked up on a presence.
Hello.
So the key is really important and really pertinent to this story. What can you find out?
Well, both me and Sally, when crossing from the other room to this one, the energy is completely different. We've both picked up individually on a very dominant male. I felt it here in my stomach, so I don't know if there's any stomach-related issues going on, whether it be drink or an injury, but it's definitely it's a lighter, fluffier energy next door.
Yeah, it's a lovely feminine.
You come in here
energy.
and it changes straight away. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's malicious or anything like that, but I'd say it's dominating.
So tell me more about this dominant male that you're picking up on.
Very big bloke, I think. Definitely
Yeah.
like a not a weedy bloke, burly bloke.
Okay.
I feel like a rugby player. He is solid, this guy.
What sort of age do you think?
I would like to say sort of late 30s, definitely into sort of like 40s. And he's not someone you would want to cross. You do not cross this guy.
Right.
Because you will pay the price for it.
You see, with me, I think he's aged more than his years. So like almost like a salty sea dog. Almost like the elements have withered him.
Yeah.
But I get more.
And what's the significance of the key itself? What can you tell me about that?
Well, I'll let you reach up there, Sally, because you're taller than me.
There's definitely a strong energy attached to that key. It's not very nice, I must say.
It's almost as if it's you want to say that I know it's a key, it unlocks something, but it's almost as if it unlocks something.
There's secrets attached to it.
Yeah, precious. There's secrets attached to it.
There's secrets.
It wouldn't have left this person's sight.
Okay. Do you know what, or can you tell what the key? What did it unlock?
Do you know, I feel really kind of like upset.
Yeah.
I know it sounds daft, but you know, like pirate treasure chests. I don't know. I'm getting like not a smuggler, but more privateering.
Privateering.
Yeah.
So smuggler's chest, you said. So tell me a bit more about that.
I'd say not so much smuggler, but like either a pirate or privateer.
Okay.
Someone who's employed by the crown to go and maybe France, Spain, something like that.
I mean, it's a bit of a cliche.
It's a key. It's going to unlock something.
Yeah, I'm really reluctant to say it, but I'm seeing like a casket, and it's sort of domed on the top, and it's got the metal straps going over, and the metal straps have got like studs on the top, and it's solid wood. That's what I'm getting.
I'm just getting more of the person.
So tell me about the person. What did he specifically? You think privateering?
I think privateering.
It's quite a blustery sort of character.
He's not one to give much away.
No, he's quite a private sort of person. He'll only tell you what he wants to tell you, what you need to know.
He's a privateer.
Yeah.
Could you ask
very
him a
much
question?
so.
Did he have any brothers?
I can't really get anything. I think he had like a younger brother.
I'm just getting a trio, 3. So him included.
You're getting 3. And was he the middle, the older, the younger? What do you think?
Oh, he was in charge.
He was in charge?
He was definitely in charge.
Does that mean he wasn't necessarily the oldest?
Not necessarily the oldest. I'm thinking he's in the middle, but he's in charge.
Can you sense whether he was involved in smuggling itself?
I'm just thinking, do you know if that thuds have been heard, like somebody stomping? I'm getting that somebody with like heavy boots has been heard walking.
And whereabouts are they walking? Can you point to a place?
Down and through.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting like you can hear this like walking across at the top.
On the floorboards above us?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me anything about the role of this building? What did they do when they were here? How did they use the house?
There was meetings going on.
Yeah.
Secret meetings for the men.
Planning.
Yeah, because you can hear them talking in hushed voices. They don't want to be overheard.
I think also it was a storage for cash before it was moved on, if that makes sense. Maybe coming up
Go on, tell me more.
Coming up through the waterways, because there's a waterway right outside this house.
If I told you that the name of the family involved in the smuggling,
Yeah.
the privateering, were called the Quillers, and there were 3 brothers,
No way.
supposedly lost at sea, and that key was to a chest.
No, you are absolutely bloody kidding me.
What else with that knowledge could you maybe pick up or try and find out?
See if we can try and get a name, maybe use some of the other equipment that we've got. I definitely think the middle brother, the ringleader, who I see as the ringleader, is here, and I think maybe it is attached to that key, and maybe this is why this room feels different to the one next door. But maybe try using Sam and see if we can try and get some direct questioning and see if we can try and get a name or the name of the brothers, or see if they can give us some information or where out to sea they died.
What is SAM?
SAM is a little device we put together over the summer which amplifies the SP7 spirit box, and it also cuts out some of the white noise so it makes it clearer. So we've named as a spectrogram a sound amplification module, SAM.
And you've used this experiment before?
Yes, we have, yeah.
Whilst we've been in the back room, a new member of our team, psychic artist Nikki, has been drawing images she's sensing here in the cottage. Again, Nikki knows absolutely no details about Polperro's smuggling history, including those related to Cooch's house. I can't explain what she's picked up. Now I understand that you are a sensitive artist. In other words, a sensitive who obviously expresses what you see and pick up through drawings.
Through pictures.
What have you picked up on?
Okay, so just sat here quietly. 3 men.
Yes.
This one, the word's bully leader. Connected with these two. This one, the downtrodden, was the word that was coming out.
Okay.
Rum.
Okay. And how does who's the lady? Is the lady related to these 3 here, or not?
Possibly. I'd say possibly. I pick up her here. Maybe they were linked, maybe sons.
And some of the things you've drawn here, rum. Is this money here?
That's a money bag.
Drink.
Drink.
A tunnel with the word quiet next to it. And then a coffin.
Yeah.
And that relates...
I think, and this is just, I think she's lost either one or some of these. And this is just, I think she's lost either one or some of these. Somehow they're all connected. This is the ending.
Do you know or have any inkling of what they did as a profession?
I'm wanting to say something to do with the sea. I don't know. I started to draw and then was made to do, like, so whether it's nets.
So if I told you that we knew that the Quiller family lived here, who were famous for their smuggling and their privateering, and there were 3 brothers, would that make sense, or would that give you any more thoughts?
It would tie in with what is on that picture.
It certainly ties in, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And apart from these 3 lads here, or these 3 men, and a lady figure here, is anybody else you've picked up in this house?
I was starting to draw, and I wanted to draw, and then that's when that was somewhat another male, but more of a, not a suited and booted male, but more of, like a vicar. Like a short white collar, very thin tie. I don't know if he was connected, but it was more of a professional, for want of a better word.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think that professional was here before this group of people or after?
After, I think.
Could this be an image of Zephaniah Job, the smuggler's banker, holding a rather natty briefcase? I'm leaving Nikki alone to see what else she can come up with, while I catch up again with Abby and Sally Ann in the back room.
Well, here we have the SB7 spirit box, which scans through multiple frequencies. The theory being that spirits use the white noise and the audio there to manipulate to come out in their own words. We have this filtered through various pedals and devices here to actually cut out some of this static and make the voices a little bit more clearer. And it also goes through the amp as well, just to beef it up a bit.
Okay. What question are you going to start with?
I will let Sally do the questions, as I will be tweaking the spectrogram device to make sure we get the clearest possible sound.
Okay.
Is there a Mr. Quiller? Come forward. Come forward, sir. You are a man of business in this area. Sir, can you please come forward? I'm asking the owner of the key. Come forward. If the key opened a chest that belonged to you, sir, please come forward. Sir, I don't mean you any disrespect. Please tell me your name. Sir, please use the energy that we give to you. Use the energy that's in this room. Use the energy to gain your strength and come forward.
Mikey.
Yeah.
That was Mikey,
Oh. Sir, if that was your key that opened a chest, can you give me your name?
John, is this your key hanging on this beam?
Abby and Sally Ann are convinced that a spirit here would still want to protect any smuggling secrets, literally taking them to the grave. But did they come through and claim the key? Both Abby and Sally Ann are convinced a voice said, "My key." Have a listen.
To gain your strength and come forward. Use the energy to gain your strength and come forward.
Mikey.
Yeah.
That was Mikey, yeah. Both me and Sally just followed the energy this way, and we've both got the impression of this imposing big male just standing. You see where those beams are just there?
Yes.
In the door, like where the funny ceiling is? And he's like hands on his hips, looking down, very disapproving. But we've both just pictured him in the big leather with the big cuffs on the coat and the
Great big
the hat.
coat and the cuffs
like,
turned back, really sort of wide cuffs turned back. And he's a big fella and not one you want to mess with.
Okay.
He's not impressed that the fact that we've picked up on there's still something in this house that's not been discovered yet.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Now, admittedly, I've got some bit of tingling on the back of my the hair on the back of my head, but I can't see anything. Can you?
I can't see it. It's almost like an impression in my mind, and I can feel the imposing energy. Like,
Yeah, it's not physically seeing it like I'm seeing you. It's an impression that you get.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the sensing of something.
Has he moved? Has he come down a step?
He's moved from there and he's gone over here a bit more. So you see that doorway there, Tony?
Yes.
Yeah, he's gone kind of like there and he's going to and fro, to and fro.
So let's go upstairs to where he's meant to be.
Oh, hello.
Gosh, so he's meant to be right on this landing, is he?
He was standing, it was like this, wasn't it, Sally?
Yeah,
like overbearing, but it's almost as if he's coming back and forth and also retreating
In that room.
in this room, yeah.
What can you sense, Abby?
It's just a stronger presence. You can feel his presence a lot stronger.
Even stronger.
Even stronger up here, yeah. I can see something swinging on the bed. This one over here. Is he protecting something?
He's protecting something.
Oh, Sally, you look really aggressive though.
Yeah. Oh, I can feel it coursing through my bones. That is his area.
He's protecting something. So if I told you that either side of the main chimney breast are two big cupboards where they used to have an open door down to downstairs, where they used to bring the illegal contraband up from?
You are kidding me.
No. So the contraband used to come in from the stream in through the lounge or the downstairs room and then be hidden up through the false cupboards either side of the chimney breast.
And those are the false cupboards there?
Yes.
The impression I'm getting is it's none of your business.
Get out of there, mate.
It's none of your business.
No. I don't want to go in that room.
Sally, can I just say, you're looking really tense and quite formidable.
I feel really sort of bullshit and aggressive.
Which is not like you.
No. It's kind of like, that's my room, and I don't want you in there because it's none of your business.
Yeah.
So don't come in here.
And what will he do if we do go in there?
There's nothing you can really do, is there? he'll make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, so we found some really interesting things in this room here. What we're going to do now is go back to Nikki, who's our artist, and see what else she's been drawing. So, Nikki, you've been drawing now for quite a long time.
Yep.
What else have you seen?
I keep getting somewhere along the line, there's the professional men.
Yes.
Which is this man.
Yes.
Along with his professional colleagues. They meet, something goes on, they seem to be collecting money, people queue to give them money, they have to wait in turn. I want to say the stick tap 3 times. I was just about to draw, there's a log, and it's almost like his doctor's log, but actually it's not a log, it's a log of what money he's collecting, or they're collecting.
Now, you've written twice here, how rude. What do you think that means?
How I'm reading it is that we're here, we've not gone, this is his domain, it's their meeting, it's their professional, whatever it is they're doing. These people have to go, they can only go to the door, and it's this, but we're here, and it's how rude. We're not invited, it's no women, it's not.
So no appointment and no
appointment.
Invitation.
Yeah.
How rude.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nikki. Before we finish, I want to talk to Anne, who's been watching all of our experiments here this evening. Anne, what just happened?
My chair got pushed twice when I was sitting on it, and it frightened me to death, and I feel very hot now.
Okay. When you say pushed, describe what exactly
It was
happened.
a shove. It was a hard shove, and then it moved again, and they they both saw it. And I was sitting perfectly still, holding my breath.
When exactly did your chair move?
When you were upstairs, and I think you're about to go in my bedroom, I think. So it was definitely pushed twice.
Sally, I understand you've got a message, something to say to Anne.
I have indeed. Anne, you don't need to be concerned or scared or anything. This gentleman, as big and blustery as he is, he's so protective over you. He's happy that you're living here in his home and looking after his keys.
I can honestly say that was quite amazing. Remember, no one in the team knew anything at all about the story of Cooch's house before we entered. The similarity of Abby's and Sally Ann's visions to psychic artist Nikki's drawings are uncanny, or pretty much accurate. Yes. Not only that, did Nikki actually pick up on Zephaniah Job and his role as the smuggler's banker, collecting monies and recording them in a ledger? Witnessed by others, Anne was clearly upset at being rocked in her chair while we were upstairs. A clear warning not to look in the bedroom cupboards. It's time for me to move on to the house on the props and meet up with more of the team. I'm intrigued to see if we can discover anything about the vision of a lady who's been seen sitting at the window, reported to be looking out for her long-departed husband, unfortunately lost at sea. Later, we'll also be investigating the Three Pilchards, Polperro's oldest pub, and the Crumplehorn Inn, office of the redoubtable smuggler's banker, Zephaniah Job. All that in Programme 2 of Things That Go Bump in the Night, in search of the smugglers of Polperro. You really couldn't make this stuff up.
Wonderful. Aren't you good? That's fantastic. Thank you.